Well, Philippians was written about joy from prison. Paul, as he writes from a jail cell, writes this beautiful little missile of an epistle, just everything you need to know about the Christian faith, really just tightly compacted here in his letter to people who live in a town called Philippi. And man, this is not only a beautiful letter, it's just filled with the reflections of an older guy who's in prison and has had a long, ministry, and just continues to have joy in the Lord. He starts off, look, by first of all saying, hey, Paul and Timothy, there's partnership there. Paul's not by himself, but Tim's with him, and they are ministering together even while they're in house arrest. And Timothy is probably ministering to Paul, and they're ministering. We'll see who they're ministering to who in a second, but there is meaningful work for Paul. But man, he is near the end of his journey. And as he's reflecting and thinking about his friends, he says this: I thank my God in all my remembrances of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, all making my prayer with joy. Man, first of all, has God given you people to love? Do you give thanks for them? Man, so many times I get suckered into praying for people, and I'm praying that trauma in their life goes away, and I'm praying that God keeps them safe. But just to spend time thanking God for the people in our lives, and not only the people that are in our lives now, but the people that have been our lives. God, thank you for those early mentors. Thank you for those people that kept me safe when I was a kid. Thank you for the friendships that Tiff and I had when we were first married. And thank you for the people in my life now. Just to spend time reflecting on and thanking God for people that he's put in our lives is an amazing thing. And then, Paul's going to give more detail about how he prays for his friends. And it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. Man, if that doesn't sum up what our goal should be for today. Paul says, I'm going to pray two things for you. I'm going to pray that your love may abound. Not that you're more comfortable, but that you are more loving. I'm going to pray that you sacrifice yourself for other people, that you think about other people more than you think about yourself. I'm going to pray that your love may abound. It's just jumping out of you. And then I'm going to pray that you have such knowledge and discernment that you learn how to keep yourself pure. So love and holiness, truth and love. These are the two areas that every Christian needs to dig into. We need to be people who love more and more and more and more and more. We also need to be people who grow in discernment more and more and more and more and more. So that love isn't a love that says, well, since I have to sacrifice and love everybody, then there's no such thing as right or wrong. And also the discernment and knowledge doesn't say, well, since I'm learning more and more what is right and wrong, this is leading me to judgment, but rather love and discernment, love and holiness. So Paul is praying for his friends. Man, may you grow in your boundless, abounding love. May you also grow in discernment, so you keep yourself holy for the day of Christ. There's a time when you're going to look Jesus face to face. And I pray that you're holy and blameless as that happens. And then he talks about something that he's talked about in other epistles, about how his imprisonment, the tough things that have happened to him, have actually been good for the gospel. I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel, so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard, and to all the rest, my imprisonment is for Christ. And most of the brothers, having become confident in the Lord by my imprisonment, are much more bold to speak the word without fear. So Paul is looking at, he is in prison. He's under house arrest. And he is saying, look, because of my situation, God's word is going to the imperial guard. How do you evangelize the imperial guard? How do you take the message of the gospel to Caesar's right hand man, Praetorian guard that's closest to him. These men that are the Romans of the Romans, the Caesar worshipers of the Caesar worshipers. How do you get the gospel to them? Well, it happens through Paul's arrest. It happens through Paul's imprisonment. And man, I wonder if we had those same kind of eyes open when we're going through difficult things to say, man, this might be the only way I could get the gospel to a certain group of people. That's certainly Paul's perspective, not woe is me, but rather, hey, I want you to know that my imprisonment has led to some people that we had no access to hearing the gospel. So then this profound, wonderful passage where Paul's going to say to live is Christ and to die is gain. Verse 20 says, it's my eager expectation and a hope that I will not at all be ashamed, but that with full courage, now as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether in life or death. I love that. He goes, Christ can be honored in me in life, and Christ can be honored in me in death. Man, that is something that is a really important Christian understanding that maybe the church has lost a little bit. That Christ can be honored in our suffering, and Christ can be honored in our exaltation. That Christ can be honored in our life, and Christ can be honored in our death. Paul's going to live his life such a way where if he lives, Christ is going to be honored, and if he dies, Christ is going to be honored. For to me, to live is Christ and to die is gain. And if I am to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet which I shall choose, I cannot tell. Paul says, I don't even know if it's better to live or die. This is a profession of an old man who's lived a long life and is maybe even a little homesick, ready to go home, ready to see Jesus. And yet he says, look, I don't know which I would pick, because if God wakes me up in the morning, it's going to mean fruitful labor to me. I'm going to live for him. I'm going to be about the work that God has given me. And I would encourage you that be true about you as well. That we not be afraid of entering into eternity. Certainly not. But that we would have the idea that, you know what tomorrow is going to be about if God wakes me up? Fruitful labor. Some of us are homebound. Then labor in prayer. Labor in study. Maybe you have access to very few people. Man, may your love abound as you have access to those very few people. Maybe you have a very busy life where you feel like, just the crush of time commitments. Man, may you impart grace to everyone who hears you speak all day long. And may your love abound to all the people that are part of your crazy world. Man, Paul says, I can't even tell you if living or dying is better. But I can tell you that if I live, I'm going to be about my Father's business. I'm going to be on mission for Jesus. And then, again, Paul encourages these people with a very similar encouragement that we heard in the last book we talked about. He says, only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ. Man, are you a person of the gospel? Then live like it. Holiness and love. Fruitful labor if God wakes you up tomorrow. That is a life worthy of the gospel. Hey, Paul was imprisoned and joyful. I should probably be able to be joyful today too. How about you? Be loved.